to go to our colleagues at ABC News now. Developments in the Middle East. Let's go to ABC News in New York.
Towards Israel, they are certainly aware of the Iron Dome and that the U.S. also has defense mechanisms up as well. But there is a possibility some of those missiles will get through, and what kind of damage they would do will really look towards what kind of response Israel makes. A U.S. official told me it is 100% certainty that Israel will respond to this, and in a vigorous way, even if those missiles do not get through. But if there are injuries, if people are injured, if infrastructure is taken out, if any part of those air bases is taken out, this will significantly increase the chances of a wider war. And that response, again, we don't know when that response will be, but Israel is taking this slow. It also, Kira, they decided not to make a preemptive strike, even Israel, even though they knew these missiles were coming, Iran taking that first hit. And another thing we have to remember, Kira, is we are just days away from the anniversary of October 7th, when Hamas entered Israel and conducted that horrific terrorist attack on Israel, and this is the fallout from all of that.
And just looking at the timeline, Martha, from October 7th, 2023, when Hamas took on that horrendous attack, killing all those innocent people during that music festival, and then looking at a momentary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas a month later. But since then, the deaths of Hamas leaders, commanders within Hamas, other political leaders throughout other countries. And then just in September, the pager explosions that killed Hezbollah leaders in Lebanon, all the way to just last week. And Hezbollah's commander, Nasrallah, Hassan Nasrallah, killed in that Israeli airstrike. How do you see this playing out right now as we talk about Iran expecting to launch 240 to 250 missiles in a number of waves here, 4 targets there in Israel, Mossad headquarters, 3 air bases? Martha, stay with us. Let's get back to Matt Gutman. He's in that shelter in Tel Aviv. Matt, bring us up to date.
Kira, we just actually ran out from the shelter to see what was going on outside. The sirens had stopped. They've started again, so we're going to go back towards the shelter. But we just saw something incredibly unusual. There are Israeli soldiers fully kitted out running in the streets, looking like they were looking for something in a bus just downstairs. This country is on tenterhooks right now. It's hard to describe how intense the feeling is for so many Israelis who've been running in and out of these bomb shelters over the past, I guess, half an hour or so. No reports yet about direct hits. We don't know about damage. But again, as the IDF has been saying, we're just going to round this corner. Their missile defense system, as robust as it is, also developed with, take the other one, also developed with the United States, does not provide a hermetic seal against these ballistic missiles coming from Iran. So it's presumed that some of them might get through. We don't know how long this is going to be going on. Martha reported earlier that a very large number of missiles is inbound towards Israel. The Israeli government, of course, has said it will retaliate. We've seen what they've been able to do in Lebanon against Hezbollah over the past couple of weeks. The intelligence apparatus is working very well. I would say that their success, according to them, has been unprecedented. It's unclear what they might have in store for Iran. But what has been quite obvious over the past weeks and months is that they have been able to infiltrate the Iranian intelligence system and the government as well. So they know what the vulnerable points are. We don't know when the retaliation might come. It might not be immediate. But again, right now, everybody in Israel continues to brace and hunker down in their bomb shelters across this country. We don't even know the scope of the missile launches at this point, don't know how many are intercepted, but clearly this is a more significant and larger barrage than we saw in April. Iran is trying to clearly send a message after its main proxy, Hezbollah in Lebanon, has been nearly decimated by Israel's attacks over the past couple of weeks, Kira.
You know, we talk about the last year. We're coming up on marking October 7th, a year since Hamas attacked Israel. let me ask you this as well, as you are there in Tel Aviv, Matt. Do you believe there's also a significance to striking so close to a high holiday? I mean, Jewish New Year starts at sundown tomorrow.
I think there is, Kira. I think Jewish New Year starts tomorrow. It is the biggest holiday in Israel. It's sort of like Christmas and New Year's in one here. It's followed by Yom Kippur a few days later, which is the Day of Atonement in Israel. And that is the anniversary on the Jewish calendar of the October 7th attack. So there might be some symbolism there as well. We don't exactly know what is in the mind of the Iranian regime right now. We do know that they feel humiliated after the round of attacks by Israel on Iranian assets across the Middle East. In Yemen, we saw the Houthis being barraged at the Hodeidah port, blown up. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been attacked severely. They are in complete disarray, and Iran clearly felt like it needed some sort of response. And it's unclear that this will be the final response. What does seem apparent, though, is that they broadcast that they were targeting military bases, military installations, and that the attacks are coming later at night. Means there's probably less traffic. It seems that they are also trying to mitigate possible civilian casualties. Seems, we don't know that for sure, but that was the modus operandi in the previous attack as well, which came overnight. Unclear exactly what is in the mind of Iran, but clearly they are trying to send a message to Israel, and the next step is going to be a very difficult one. But just to go back to October 7th, Kira, you mentioned the symbolism there. Israel was just starting to recover from the horrors of October 7th and the humiliation that its own intelligence system and its own military suffered at the hands of Hamas, that surprise attack that left over 1,200 Israelis dead. And they had just started to feel like they've regained traction. And with what happened in Lebanon and the new assault there, the ability to clear a part of southern Lebanon without Israeli casualties so far. So this is still rolling, and as Martha warned, there is a significant concern here of a greater regional war breaking out because of the attacks tonight, Kira.